Hello and welcome to the Dental Labcast. My name is Jenna.
My name is Andrea.
Please follow and subscribe to support our show and to make sure that you never miss an episode.
Welcome to the next episode of the Dental Labcast.
Hello and welcome to today's episode. Today we've got Dominic. Is it Mumbrun? Is that how you say it?
Yeah,
Oh, yeah, I should
absolutely.
have checked that first, shouldn't I?
It's all right.
Dominic, can you just give a brief introduction about what you do?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. So my name's Dominic, and I'm a qualified dental technician. I actually qualified in 2015. That's when I got myself officially qualified. And I've been practicing as a dental technician the whole time. Alongside that, in 2017, I embarked upon my side hustle, which was originally Bitemakers, which was venturing into making teeth for films. And also another hat that I was wearing up until recently, it also was a clinical trainer as well, where I would help train dentists on how to scan using specifically an iTero intraoral scanner. So lots of different hats I've worn. And currently right now, Bitemakers is now the predominant business, so the rest of my hats I've kind of had to put down recently as of Christmas last year because I just don't have time. But they're there if and when I need to pick them up.
Fair enough.
Don't have time in the very best possible way.
I always do start off every podcast usually asking how you got into dental technology, and I'm going to actually ask that as well.
Yeah, of
What
course.
actually brought you into the world of dental technology?
Yeah, well, I mean, I lived a few different careers. So believe it or not, before I became a dental technician, I was actually a retail manager. I started very young, fell into that work, and the first kind of economic downturn, I think it was around about 2008, happened, and I realized there was a big need for some job security. Along with that, and then being in a job where I was working for a high-end retailer and a boss who was, let's say, not very nice, really kind of helped push my hand into thinking about what I really want to do and what my long-term prospects in life were. And believe it or not, I had like a kind of a fork in the road moment, okay, where I could go one way or I could go the other way. One way was actually to study to become a meteorologist because I've always loved weather. Right, ironically, we're talking about storms today. I love the idea of that. I've always studied it. I lived in a house on a hill. We used to always watch the storms rolling in on the countryside. House got hit by lightning. I've always been fascinated by it. I wanted to study it. Well, I could become a dental technician because my father-in-law was a dental technician. Of course, the weather was a little bit more exciting to me at that point in time. But you know what? I thought I looked into it. It would have been 7 years of studying, and I'd have to finish my studies in Exeter at the Met Office. So you have to relocate, and actually, the money you would get eventually wasn't that good. And it was just about the prospects of me wanting to have a family and support them. Of course, dental technology is one of those ones that you get into just for the money because we know again, the entry level dental technicians isn't very high initially anyway. But I could see long term, everyone has teeth. This is a pretty practical, sensible option. And I always worked with my father-in-law, so I already had an idea. Now he was working predominantly NHS dentures, so I already learned the old style process of packing, flasking. I learned all the traditional techniques as a process worker with him, and he was like, you know what, why don't you just get yourself qualified, get your paper, your registration, get yourself registered to GDC, and just to see what happens. And that was it really for me, and actually turned out to be one of the most exciting, poignant forks in the road in my life. It actually turned out to be something that I love, and I'm pretty good at.
Yeah, and you're
So that's
doing really
quite a
well.
bizarre coincidence as well, because Jenna is also obsessed with the weather. My
I am.
daughter is a meteorologist, And I spent a lot
You're
of years
joking
in
me.
retail and retail management before I went into dental technology.
Oh my God, I'm in such good company, honestly.
You are. I mean, I had to really bite my tongue when you was talking about meteorology. I was like, don't jump in, Jenna. Don't jump in. I'm like,
The
me
little eyes
too.
were lighting up. Look, she
Yeah, I was
loves
like,
it.
I've been hanging out the windows today, listening to these storms and watching them. I record them and I go live on Facebook with them. And that's, and I always have this, it's not even a joke. I always say at work, and everybody at work says, oh, you should have been a meteorologist, really, not a dental technician. Because even at work, if we get a storm, I'm up at the window. That's everything's down up at the window.
You're just like me. Clap of thunder, that's it. Tools
Yeah,
down, I'm out at the lab. Let's go and have a look at the
yeah. Gonna
atmospherics, what's
do a bit of
happening.
storm chasing.
Yeah, and when I'm doing anything, even when I'm online on a conference call, I've got net weather radar on. And so I'm checking the weather forecast and the radar, and I'm seeing that's why I knew the storm's coming up from Bath towards me. I love that.
We could totally have a different podcast to do on this, another episode just on
Totally.
this. Let's do
Yeah.
a storm one.
I
Yeah, a side swing.
love that.
So, what got you into? So you do buy makers now, where you make a lot of prosthetics for actors and actresses, films and things like that. How did you get into that part of it then?
For someone who has a lot of hobbies and I've done a few things, I've always loved film. Film has always been an underlying passion, but it's also one of those things that I knew I'd never be able to get into. It was a passion and love. And actually, the thing that I always loved the most was the behind the scenes. So I think for me, the turning point for me was so it's what I'm going to tell it. You tell a bit of a film geek, but it was when Lord of the Rings was released. So when I watched it, loved it, big J.R. Tolkien fan, big fantasy fan, and watched them all in the cinema. I took my family to go watch them with me. Watched all the Hobbit as well. Looking forward to the new ones that are coming out soon. And
Still in good
uh,
company.
amazing. We do need a separate podcast, like technicians with interesting hobbies. I loved the most actually was when they released the Lord of the Rings, there was the extended editions that you could buy that had all of the behind the scenes from Weta Workshop. And I found myself loving the behind the scenes more than actually the films. And I love the films. They're some of my favorites. But I was fascinated. And I think it's, in a kind of like dental technology side of me, like understanding how things are made, materials, etc. And it was really looking at the level of detail they went into building these costumes and the artistry behind it. And it was kind of a poetry. I was like, I wish one day I could do something like that. But like so being an astronaut, it's the chances are really minimal of ever happening. And so that's always just been in the back of my mind. So I've always been, I was chipping away in dental technology. And I found myself working for I think at the time especially I was at Burns Dental with
Oh,
Ashley Byrne. And I was with Ashley and my film kind of like fetish, if you will, was peaking, and I was going to these exhibitions where you can meet all the people who are actually behind the prosthetics and the makeup. And there was one that was regularly being held at Aston University in Birmingham, and I was quite regularly going to that, and I went to one in 2017, my second time. I went with my brother, and I was chatting to a makeup artist, and she was like, "Oh, so why are you here?" I was like, "I love film. I love what you do." I was looking at all the silicone busts and the prosthetics. She goes, "Okay, so what do you do then?" I said, "I'm a dental technician." She's like, "Okay, so you make teeth." You love film makeup. Have you never thought about putting it together? And I was like, what do you mean? She goes, well, there's one other guy in the UK currently who is making teeth for films. This, and so there's not very many people doing it. And she said, I don't know of anyone else outside of the UK doing this. Maybe you should look into this. And it was kind of incendiary. My head and my stomach just went. I was like, holy shit! Like this is it. Like if this is the thing, like this could be my calling, right? Because I thought, dental technology has been a calling. In the end, I love it. I love everything about recreating nature and the tools we have in our armory to be able to do that. But to really evolve both of my passions together. So I kind of looked into it on my phone when she said about it, and I was queuing up for a lecture. And they actually took a picture of me. Those photographers that go around at the event and take pictures, and this is on their website still. But I was actually in the queue on my phone, and I wrote my whole business plan down there and then, and I'm happy to say that I delivered it every bit because I knew, did a lot of research. If you want to go into an industry, you have to do your research. Look at potential competitors. What's your point of difference? What can you bring? Well, I was very much digital minded, so I joined dentistry in a time when it was still, I'd say when I was at Ashley's, it was probably about 30 to 40% of the workflow was digital then. And I was running his digital department, and so I was very aware of the capabilities and of the intraoral scanners and the level of accuracy you can get. I thought, you know what, I can bring this understanding and this knowledge to the effects world, because at that point, no one was really, it was all very much traditional practical effects. Now it's very different, digital is very much taking over most industries now, but I could see my point of difference. So I thought, holy shit, this is it, and then it took, I'd say, about 3 years of free work before I even got paid. So was it an easy thing to do? No, it was probably one of the hardest things I've ever done because, um, when you study to become a dental technician, when you're studying, you can get through your course, you get yourself, in a lab, start to learn your skills, become a dental technician, you become rounded, there's a very clear pathway of what you're going to do, and how to do it. But I didn't really know how to get into this industry. And so it was a lot of free time and free work and really learning myself, and trying to study the competitors, because of course there's a lot of trade secrets, and a lot of people it's like technicians, so technicians, they'll kind of hide their work and not
Gatekeeping.
want to share. Yes. So I had to kind of really, it's a bat to the fire, and I had to really, really work hard. Um, at establishing myself and getting myself known, and then I started to slowly get paid work in, but more at the lower level of the industry, the kind of
Mhm.
the C-class films where the budgets are quite low, but and ideas have been scribbled on the back of like a cardboard box or a scrap bit of paper, what they want you to do. So I started in very low to kind of build it up to where I am now.
You've done really well. That's really interesting. Did you work as a dental technician at the same time, or did you kind of come away from all of that?
So this is where it gets really interesting. It's almost exposed into reality. So I've always had, and I'd already lost my hair before this point, but maybe I'd have lost it throughout this process. But uh, most of the time, so since 2017, I've been holding down a full-time job, whether that be as a dental technician, or within the last 7 years, I kind of like phased out the dental technician work. Still doing keep my hand if something is important, but that was more moving into clinical training and learning the clinical side of visual scanning. So I was for pretty much solidly for 5 years running two full-time jobs.
Wow.
So I would do my full-time job, and then I would then do my Bitemakers in the evenings, when I got in. And actually, it was probably only till my hand was pushed, actually, I was made redundant on the intraoral scanning side of things with Align Technology, in November. And lucky for me, I built up Bitemakers to the point where it's cruising. It's now, I've got plenty of work, but I always needed that backup, that safety net. Um, because also the film industry, it's undergoing quite a few changes at the moment, and with that has been instability. So you all may remember the SAG-AFTRA actors strikes, where there was 6 months where there was no film work done whatsoever. Now I was thanking my lucky stars, because I was talking in discussions with my wife, who's a joint director of the business, about going full time with Bitemakers, because I didn't know how long I could sustain this, because I had hit burnout. I was burning out. And then the actor strike happened, and I thought, thank God I didn't cash all my chips and jump in. And then I had that realization, you just need that security blanket. But now, like I said, recently I've gone full hog, and I've now got a decent sized financial buffer behind me because of all the hard work. And now I've got that reputation I've built up to make sure that I'm busy. Even when the industry's quiet, I'm really busy because I've spent the time to build up those relationships, not just in the UK, but Europe. There's the beautiful thing about digital workflows, as you know, right? And you're talking about it doesn't limit to the UK. A lot of work I do in Paris, America, and I'm happy to talk later about it, but I also partnered up with my business partner, Gary Archer, well-known he's a
Yeah.
dental technician based out of LA. Amazing guy. And so we do a lot of transatlantic work as well together. So yeah, it's kind of where I am at the moment and kind of realistically what it looked like. It looked like work. And to be really honest, I said it's one of the hardest things I've ever done. My wife took the plunge. I've got two kids as well, right? So just as my first kid was born, Freddie, who's now, gosh, he's 9. So it was about 9 years ago when I started it. When he was born, underwent a kind of like a real rocket up my ass moment. Like, you got to do it now, or you're never going to do it. And you want to have a legacy. You want to have something. If maybe your kids want to do it, when they're older, maybe they can come and work with you. Something that demonstrates being an entrepreneur, starting your own business and doing something different. You want to be an example to your kids, and that was the ultimate rocket. Now, the challenge is, of course, my wife then is left looking after the child. There was some other weekends I was trying to learn my skills, perfect it. And so the marriage did take a hit. Luckily, thank God, she's amazing. She's an amazing woman. She can see that it was worth it at the end, and we were able to kind of like reconnect. But it just shows that, quite often there can be casualties, but luckily I was able to claim it back and pull it back. And now my wife can see you've got all this work coming in now because all the hard work. We have ultimate security as well as a family, which is really, what
Yeah,
we
it's exactly
want.
what you
Whilst
want.
whilst being paid to do what I love, though, right? Which is, as they
It can
say,
be
it's
a
a
choice in
dream.
the beginning, can't it, though? Like you say, because then you're thinking, do I throw myself into work because I can see the potential and I've got the passion and I want to work towards that to give that legacy? Or do I step back so I don't miss out on some of those key parts of my child growing up? Because I've had jobs, and and I know both you two will have had it where you are working most evenings, all day, most evenings, weekends, and like I went through a stage as well where my daughter woke up in the night and cried for her dad once, and that broke my heart because it demonstrated to me, and that was first and last time it ever happened, because it demonstrated to me just how much I wasn't around. But it's hard to make those decisions sometimes. Like I say, luckily you've got an amazing wife who
Yeah.
believed in you and carried you through, or you and your children through that, and still stuck around.
Yeah, exactly. And I also, it's all around addressing. So, because it's really important, you were talking about like work-life balance. So, what I was really lucky doing, I think this is really how I managed to retrieve it all, is that I've moved my whole operation home. So basically, I've got a fully working. So, I'm in my digital studio right now. To the other side of me, I have my lab. So where I do my messy work, because it's not, I do a lot of digital, but still there's a lot of plaster powder, there's a lot of acrylic trimming and stuff. So and I've got milling units as well as printers and that side of the business. So it's good that I was able to work from home, because it means that however hard I'm working, I'm having breakfast together with my family, lunch and dinner, which I think is massive important. So if I have to work late in the evenings, it's better. And that's something that I was able to recover and do probably for the last, I think that's been about 5 years. So I'm lucky to have that. But I think it's, now, even though I'm working, I'm busy, having just one job, even though I'm crazy busy, it sounds silly, but I have more time. I have like my evenings now available with my wife, so we can sit, we can watch our programs, have time together, catch up, and see my kids on the weekends. I'm not working every weekend. Some weekends I am. Like just this weekend,
I
I'm
feel like you're
probably going
reading my
to
mind there a little bit. I was going to say, do you feel like working at home that you tend to find you're working more kind of thing? But you haven't said that, said no.
Yeah, you don't. I mean, and because I think I have to be very disciplined. I think it helps having that detachment as well, because I'm not actually working in the house. I'm detached. So my journey to work scenarios. Can't be late. Might be late for a podcast. But but the fact that I can work from home is great, and also it is for the family business now. So my wife is director, and the actors will come in here. So this room here. And so the kids will get to meet them. But what's really funny though is that my immediate neighbours, of course, I've told them what I do. You know, people will be with blacked out colours. The drivers will be standing around. You know, and but the neighbours kind of further down, I haven't told them, and I'm pretty certain that if anyone has seen Breaking Bad, sometimes I'm coming out with a lamp with a mask on, you know, and I've got a good extraction, and we're thinking I'm some sort of Heisenberg running some sort of meth lab because you know,
Yeah.
people blacked out cars pulling up, small packages being exchanged. So no, I tell them. I
Surprised you haven't had
just
the police turn
ridiculous.
up yet.
It's more fun
Imagine.
not telling them, isn't it?
Yes, absolutely. Got a bit of fun, but
Did you teach yourself how to do everything then? Or have you had like mentors to help you?
yeah,
Because you make some really interesting pieces for these actors and these films. I mean, like, how
you know,
did you learn
thank
to
you.
do all of that?
Well, a lot of it is I'm self-taught. I'd say probably 80% of it is self-taught. Um, I've exchanged tips and tricks with Gary. So as I mentioned, Gary Archer in the US. You know, he's been doing it. His first film was Miss Doubtfire. Right? So he got called. Him and his dad, because God bless his soul, when he started, his dad was around with him working, and they said, "Look, how do we make a gag where someone's drinking their drink and a set of tea fall out in the glass, like Robin Williams does?" And that was his first gig. So he's been doing it a long time. So there was some tips and tricks that I got from him. Pricing was also another one as well to make sure I'm competitive. But 80% of it I taught myself. So there's still now. I will do things very differently to Gary. He'll do direct processing. I'll do it on a vac form, for instance. You know, there's nuances. I'll use putty as a mold matrix. He uses plaster. You know, it's generational as well. The differences, but yeah, and there's certain things perhaps I'm maybe better at than he is, and vice versa as well. So I definitely have a particular skill set. But yeah, 80% of it was hard work, dedication, trying to find out how you can do this. Because really what you want to do is be able to recreate that in a minute. If it's aesthetic and it's a character piece, avoid over plumping a bolt or bottom kind of bulking of the plumping of the muscles. But also they've got to be able to talk in them, right? They've got to be able to
Yeah.
enunciate. You know, you've got to think about airflow. You've got to think about what the tongue comes in contact with or what it
Do you find
doesn't.
this is where your dental technician side of things come in a lot better? Because I think I actually remember watching a few podcasts with Gary Archer, and he was talking about function and how people used to do special effect makeup and prosthetics before, but they wasn't thinking about the comfort or the function of things for the actors. So there's getting
Good
sores and
question.
things. So do you feel like that actually has helped you knowing
So
the oral cavity?
100%. 100%. Working in an environment that you're familiar with, you know, and I've worked a lot in dentures. I kind of then evolved in when I worked with Ashley into kind of more CAD-based implant and crown and bridge work, but I still always had my hand in dentures, still do occasionally. So I was confident, you know, it's an environment I know and know well, and comfort and materials and function second nature to me. And occlusion, right? Occlusion, you know, making sure that I'm not jacking open the bite, you know, um, understanding those vertical dimensions, limitations, stabilizing bites, all these things come into play. And you know, I think coming into it with that level of experience and expertise is just nothing but good for the actors. I've seen work before that's not been done by a dental technician, and it's terrible when you think, you know, I think as a technician, we're always thinking, would we be happy putting that in our mouth, right? And it's always a generally a good benchmark. And a lot of this, they've clearly not even had that thought in their mouth. You know, you've got jagged edges, things that gape that allow air to flow through it, and you know, sometimes you're seeing them made out of materials that are not designed for the mouth, and that's really scary. You start to see kind of
Yeah.
carcinogenic automotive paints used, or you're seeing nail acrylics being used. You know, it gets quite scary. Whereas, you know, coming into as a dental technician, I've got that level of credibility and professionalism behind what I do, because they know for sure that whatever I'm producing is going to be completely biocompatible, safe to use in the mouth. and it's going to be the best I can produce. It's going to be comfortable for the amount of time they've got to wear it, and if they need to speak, that they can enunciate. Now, there are some exceptions where some people they have a set of teeth in, however thin, however minimal, and they will have a slight lisp. They will just get used to it. They're too aware of it. A lot of it's the psychology of
Yeah.
it, being aware of it. But majority of people give them a couple of minutes of wearing it and then they forget about it. And because what I like to do is really just break away from the teeth and talk about something different. And the moment you do that, they forget about it. The speech completely returns.
Just distract them, yeah.
Yeah.
Do you find is there any other dental technicians that do what you do that's in the UK? Or because I've not heard of anyone other than yourself, really.
Well, I know that there's a few. There's a few, but the other big players, really, my direct competitor is Fangs Effects. So they were I think a hired shoot off of the Woodlands Crown and Bridge Lab in Amersham, and yeah, and then they moved into doing film too. But they're the only people really in the UK really doing it.
And the industry is big enough anyway for you to have at least just one competitor in the UK, and
Exactly, yes. I mean, I don't have a particular relationship with that person, but all other people who are doing teeth around the world, I pretty much know. So, for instance, another dental technician from Newcastle called Jack Charlton. He's out in the Gold Coast in Australia. He does teeth, but he does like Pirates of the Caribbean, so anything that's been filmed out in Oz. I talk a lot with him. Quite often, we'll get actors scanned. And work with him on productions, as well as Gary Archer, and there's a few other people. There's in Germany a lovely technician called Susie. She's a dental technician who called Alphabite, based out of Germany. So, and it's really nice having these people when networking because you share ideas, but you help each other out. And as you mentioned, there's a lot of work around here. So it's
Seem
not
to have
like
built yourself a
stepping on
nice
toes.
little worldwide network between yourselves to
And-
collaborate,
and-
really.
Exactly, and you used the word earlier, like gatekeeper. I'm not a gatekeeper, but I believe, you know what, if there's other dental technicians doing the work, it's almost worth kind of endorsing them and working with them because it's the best way to work. It's like, I forgive me, I always say this wrong. There are like contact lens optometrists. Oh,
Can't say it.
yeah,
I know what you mean, though.
no. If you're a lens technician and you're watching, I'm really sorry, but it's a mattress, I think. But basically, they're
ophthalmologists.
it
think
could
that's
be,
the
yeah.
one.
It's all in that field, isn't it?
Yes, and
It's
there
the
are
eyes.
there are people who work within the normal contact lens world who are doing the film business because the film industry will tend to prefer to choose people who are professionals in their own industry because they're regulated and
it's safe for their actors as well, isn't it? As you were saying earlier, you don't want to be putting all these toxins in. You don't want to be, liable a few years down the line because,
You hit it right on the head.
Let's face it, an actor can afford to take you to court.
Yeah.
And probably as a motivation, yeah.
Yeah.
And liability is really the biggest thing, right? Because you're not just dealing with the actor, you're dealing with multi-million-pound productions. So let's say I didn't really know what I was doing. I didn't know how to survey. I didn't understand undercuts, and I was not making something comfortable. And I did something that risked damaging and removing a veneer or anything. And I act as a lead. I'm liable not only for his treatment, but also the time that they are not able to film. So if he's a lead actor, you think how many thousands of pounds. So liability is also, my insurance is huge for this, compared to my normal dental technician business because, in many ways I have to insure myself as a dentist would do, right? Because I'm dealing firsthand with actors. But that's something I'm always really conscious of, but I'm confident in my own abilities. So I know that I am the best person for that job because I understand exactly what I'm doing and I know that they're in the best capable hands. And that's why I'm open to working with other technicians because it's almost creating a network, almost like a union between ourselves. be able to showcase what we can do. And you can see the difference as well between the people who are not dental technicians creating work, even aesthetically, versus the people who are dental technicians who understand, the morphology of teeth and occlusion.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I think it is definitely the best way to go with things. Do you find do people send you their portfolios a lot, wanting to get into the same
Yeah,
thing?
they do, but I have a lot of people in the makeup industry reaching out because and wanting to learn to do it. And my advice, sorry, my little cat's just had a cameo. They'll walk back again. And there's a lot of makeup artists in the industry who apply to work to me and they go, look, I've done this, but I really want to get experience with teeth. My advice is, look, go get yourself qualified as a technician. Go do a part-time course at, let's say, someone like Matthew Bolton. Get yourself a BTEC. Within 2 years, you could be qualified. And then you've got most of what you need to know to be able to pursue this. Of course, yes, I, you're using that experience, but you have to then learn how to apply it in a different way because it's not like making a set of full dentures. There are similarities, especially when you need to plump and form and understand occlusion, as I mentioned. But that's really the linchpin. That's the thing that should underpin what you want to do. So we always recommended that. We've agreed, as like me, Gary, Jack, we've said it, and we've said, look, just directed them to those courses. Look, come to us once you've been qualified. If you want to learn, we can give you some of the basics
Yeah.
of what you need to do. But really, nothing beats actually doing the research yourself. And because I think the way I look at it is that there's no one there for me. I mean, Gary was there eventually, but I'd already learned 80%. I'd already established how I was going to do things. And a lot of it was just grounded from dental technology. I wasn't doing things that to a technician would be kind of odd or foreign to them.
No, I suppose you've done your course, haven't you? And you learn the oral cavity, you learn about bites and function, you learn the materials, you know what's safe, what to do and what not to do. And then I guess you just put those together, and then rather
You
than
do,
doing a
yeah.
normal A2, standard denture, you've now got a nice big, well functioning, fitting, like
Exactly.
fangs hanging halfway out of your cheek.
What's your
Exactly.
favourite piece that you've done, Dominic? What's your favourite one that you've done to date?
Favorite
Or
piece.
the most challenging? Your favourite and
I'd
your most
say
challenging, yeah.
I'd say your favorite and most challenging was quite recent. So it was. I don't know if you guys are into horror films, but the film
I
Sinners.
am, but they scare me, so I spend a lot of time like this. So my partner
So I
makes
don't
me
know.
watch them, and I don't like
It's
it.
Yeah, it's the same with my wife because like I make the teeth and my homework is go see it in the film. Right? I need to go check to see if I'm happy with
Don't
the
watch
work.
them.
Well, I'm not gonna lie, I was scrolling, and I was looking because I was looking at your Instagram as you've just done a recent film. I can't remember what it's called now. And I was like
It's
this with
mommy.
my partner. I was showing the phone. I was like, watch that because this is the guy that I'm going to be speaking to. I've been talking about. Just watch it though, because that scares me. I don't like it.
What I do, and a lot of the things I do are horror films, right? Because it's the nature of it. People having teeth being pulled. At the moment, I'm doing a lot of tooth pulling. I'm working on one right now. But my favourite. I'm going to get it show you. I've got a copy of it.
This is where you need the cat cameo to come on again. Cat comes in and entertains.
Yeah.
I have to lock my cat out of the room because she jumps all over the
Well,
computer.
accidentally, my cat. I don't know how I did it. I locked up the studio with her, and I don't know how he remained in here, and he was there all night, and he trashed the place. So I had to buy a brand new monitor because it knocked over one of the monitors. It peed everywhere, like everywhere. I was like, oh my gosh, I've got to get rid of everything because you know what cat we's like.
Yes, got that in the car.
This was kind of like this was one of the test pieces that I did. Now this is basically for the film Sinners. Now, the idea behind this is the
Move it across a
vampire
little
who,
bit.
can you see it now? So basically the idea behind this is that basically this sits outside the cheek. Okay, but
Does it
this
look like
sits
some of the skin's
internally.
missing from the side of his face or something?
Yes,
So does it
exactly. So
does it pull back the kind of this area,
So
like
it will actually push it, compress
little
it
bit
down.
then?
So what it will do is it will sit over, it slightly push it out, but it will compress it, the tissues, and then it sits just outside the mouth. And basically the idea is, as Andrew has mentioned, is to make it look like they've had flesh removed. So then they would stick prosthetics to the edges of this to look like
Just to create, yeah.
the flesh. Yeah, and it's quite a hard, um, quite hard thing to achieve. And at no point did I have access to the actor.
Okay.
So you know, it's yeah, and a lot of the things I do, I don't often have access to the actor. So you have to, you pretty much want to get it right every time. Now sometimes you don't, because for this, you know, you have to kind of guess. I mean, I had an appliance
Yeah, the
made
thickness
for
of
me.
the tissues, yeah.
Exactly. You think like the different thickness of the masseter
Yeah.
and just generally all the oral muscles, you know, so a lot of it's guesswork. But what I did was, there is basically some ortho wire embedded within here. And
Okay.
I gave him a disc and I said, look, if you need to, you can cut right down and then you can move it and adjust it if you need to. And then I sent it some acrylic and you can fill in those cuts as well. And that's tough. When I've got access to the actor, that's actually really easy. I mean, I did something very similar on Wednesday. I don't know if any of you watched the series Wednesday, but there's a character called
Yep.
Slurp, and he has a big overdenture over the top and the bottom. And I did that completely digitally. I was the first person, I think, in the world to be able to do an overdenture completely digitally using exocad. And that's easy. It's easier when you've got access to the actor because you can check that it fits. And that was a really fun gig as well. With because I'm going to digress now to Wednesday. Wednesday was a lot of fun, probably the most fun because I was using photogrammetry, which we know is like still kind of like on the in the industry now, the dental industry. But basically, we had there was a photogrammetry. The actor Owen Painter was in LA, and time was of the essence. I wasn't going to have access to him until I could fit the teeth. So it was like, okay. So we got these big. It's basically a big globe of about 200 DSLR cameras around him. He sits in the middle, and then it takes an instantaneous picture. Of course, that builds the photogrammetry image. They did it, and I asked them to basically fold back his lip and then smile, so I had references, and then they took a photogrammetry image of just his head. Then we sent him over to Gary, because we're just down the road in LA, to get him taken to a dentist who had an iTero scanner, and they got him scanned. And then I was able to bring that information together, reference the dental scan into that photogrammetry image, and then I was able to then build and design the dental all in one go using exocad. Now, I love exocad because actually I'm a certified trainer as well for exocad. I use it a lot. So I know once you know how to use exocad, you know pretty much how to kind of make it do what you want it to do. Because what I do is not traditional dentistry. It's kind of playing around with that. And I think once you know your way around it, it's a lot of fun and I love doing it. And I had to make a whole range, so the whole different series of teeth showing the different levels of decay and kind of attrition on the teeth. So it was a lot of fun. But like I said, I did that digitally. To my knowledge, and even to now, I put it out there, no one's been able to do anything like that digitally. Because doing it practically, which I've done a few times before, it's an arse ache. It's pretty challenging because you've gotta make it in two pieces, and you've got to hope that it all completely lines up. And 9 times out of 10, it doesn't, because you know
No.
you're still an element of luck and just guesswork. Whereas I'm like, no, let's just take the guesswork out, right? The time window I've got is short, so we really need to minimize that. And in the end, I needed to make some adjustments just around here where it was digging in a bit too much. But I looked at what I could have done differently, and it's needed to create a little bit more relief around those areas. Um, yeah, and I mean, we kind of, I've now got that now. It's a nice, tidy workflow.
I mean, you've achieved quite a lot, really, haven't you? You're exocad trainer as well, and you know, building your
Yeah,
bite makers up. It's a lot. There's a lot to be proud of.
yeah. Well, it was when I was with Allied Technologies and iTero trainer. So as a lab technician, they got us all exocad certified as a trainer. So so I'm still certified until that certificate runs out, and I'll probably try and get it renewed. But again, it's just I'd always use exocad, so to make that extra step it was fine. It was just learning about the other modules that I don't use very often. I'd used FreeShape as well previously, but I just preferred exocad because I use it a lot more and I like the model builder as well. It's a lot easier. But I just find the exocad a little bit more stable. I think when you use them both, you can see the kind of like a FreeShape, you're kind of as the end user, feel that you're the tester, you're still testing it because it's still quite glitchy. Whereas exocad will only release it when it's stable, and so there's less glitches going on, less things going on. And I think you need, especially with the Bitemakers work I'm doing, I'm pulling a lot of information that I
Yeah.
need predictability. I don't want it to crash out, which I know on many a time when I've overloaded the FreeShape, it's just crashed out.
Circle of doom.
It's
One of
like a look
those.
doom, yeah.
Yep. Yeah, we have both softwares at our lab, but our CAD technicians tend to use the exocad more. It's their go-to. Nothing wrong with 3Shape, but again, it's just people have the preferences, don't they?
Exactly, yeah.
Do you still do any of your dental, just the normal dental technology side of things?
Yeah, I mean, occasionally, I'll do like the denture repair, or I'll do a denture. Someone reaches out to me. Um, I'm going to the dentist tomorrow, and I'm going to be designing my own crown. I'll do a nice securing a crown. So yeah, I keep my hand up, but it's very minimal. So
Will you be finishing the crown as well then, or just
yeah,
designing it?
absolutely. Yeah, design and finishing. Yeah, absolutely. Stunning glaze. And yeah, so I keep my hand in because I think it's important to stay abreast of the latest innovations and technologies. And also because I'm still registered, I'm still, doing my CPD, which is great. And again, that helps me keep abreast of all the innovations. But I mean, what was interesting is that when I was made redundant, of course, I've always mentioned about having a backup plan. Actually, set up a dental scanning academy. So I thought, you know what? I'm coming at this as a clinical trainer. Even though I'm a dental technician, I'm fully qualified to train dentists, and I've shown them how to scan and use the iTero specifically. And so I actually set up an independent company. But because I've been so busy with Bitemakers, I had to reach out to the accountant. I think it was last month to say, look, can you make that company dormant? Because I didn't time to market it, which is a nice position to be in. But
Mhm.
Yeah. Do you find with your do you use the same materials using doing the special effects things, or do you have to find different types of materials that you don't normally find in the dental technology?
yeah, it's a really good question. So anything that's going around the market is just the materials that we know and love and use, right? So anything from pourball acrylics to high impact acrylics, whether it be, Vita tooth shaded base dentines, or whether it be Ivoclar acrylics, or whatever it is that's got the right, if it's really thin, of course I'll choose let's say maybe edge towards like the high impact. So very much it's for any denture technicians out there, it's very familiar materials. Now, of course, I'm edging into a lot more digital. So, there are now some really good resins in the market now, which, before there wasn't that many approved, but now there's a lot more. So I'm now definitely edging in towards using more printed materials. They're still not quite as good as traditional acrylics. And it's like digital dentures, because I used to teach and train and lecture a lot on digital dentures. The aesthetics are still not there. You can, there's some certain processes, but I still find that even if I was doing a denture, I'd still, when I can, want to use a traditional stock tooth because they are the better aesthetics. They look better. And the digital dentures, I'm still yet to be 100% converted in the aesthetics. Now, I prefer, and this is against the grain of certain other technicians that I know work with, is I prefer a cutback. So if I'm designing a digital
Okay.
denture, I prefer to have a cutback because I can improve the aesthetics with that as composite. Now, I know, using a different material, there can be challenges with that, but I haven't had any issues. As long as I make sure I've got a mechanical grip as well as chemicals in the
No, I
right
suppose
primers.
with layering your composite, you get the effects that you want out of it rather than trying to do a surface effect. If you're
Exactly,
layering your composite, you
exactly.
can get that more of a 3D as well, can't you?
Exactly, and
So
I love that you can get the teeth looking vital, you can get the gum work looking beautiful. but you've got then all the fit and predictability of the digital denture, right? Because it works. Now, of course, there's challenges as well with digital dentures on the market as well, because of course there's some challenging situations which are challenging to be scanned, and I still do it now. I'm actually doing a lecture soon. It's yet to be agreed on digital dentures, and there are still certain cases that you can't scan with an intraoral scanner, where you've got a lot of atrophy, and you still need nothing's going to beat that traditional impression where you've got the mucocompressive forces. You can manipulate the soft tissues, especially when you've got an atrophied mandible, and you need. Anyone who says that, I've heard a few salespeople in the past trying to sell an intraoral scanner saying, no, you can scan those cases. Like, yeah, but you probably could, but is it
Oh,
going to fit?
right.
Are you going to
I
get suction?
I get quite a few complex cases in the hospital, cancer patients or ex-drug users, or, people that's suffered trauma. I quite regularly, I'll do a digital scan and then have to do a traditional impression as well, because I'm just not picking up the right level of detail with the scan. So I'm using the two in conjunction, but ultimately I'm making the appliance on the one where I've took the traditional impression. For the complex cases, I work in orthodontics primarily and do a little bit of, some basic MaxFax appliances, not like a MaxFax technician, but for, like you say, those patients who's got really complex intraoral problems and weird and wonderful tissue, it doesn't pick it up properly if there's not enough landmarks for it.
And try to scan down to that. Let's say it's a denture, a lower denture. They need to retain it in the myhyoid notch. Try to get to scan that notch, like almost impossible. Now there are some scanners on the market which are better than the others, but I always say if they've got a denture already, and let's say I do a denture wash, and because 9 times out of 10 maybe for a reader, use that and then scan that in if you want to digitize it, because then you got you've got the impression it's going to be accurate and work, and I'll result in a good fitting denture at the end of it.
Yeah, I'm not sure that the intraoral scanning is ever really it's not gonna be able to duplicate that ever, is it? I don't know what the way round is for it. 'Cause like I say, you're never gonna get the tissue compression and things like that with a digital scan. So I just wonder how they're gonna try and resolve that at some
They'll
point in the
bring
future,
robots
because
in to take
they
it
I
instead
mean, they will be fighting furiously to
from
try and find a
humans.
way around that, won't they? But, like, so we can get rid of the analog stuff altogether. But it's just, I'm just wondering how that's going to be accomplished. I can't see it just yet.
But I mean,
No.
there's patients always going to be around. I mean, I speak to a lot of people about this, and they say, well, most people are getting implants now. So, but I'm saying, yeah, but there's still always going to be those cases where you still need to scan the soft tissues. Even the people who are having implants, right? They're still going to need a temporary denture of some sort. And the way I look at it is that it's accepting that we're always going to need. We're not expecting dentists to get rid of their alginate or their PDS impression material. If they're doing dentures, they'd still need that, right? Because
Mm.
nothing currently on the market is going to result in a better fit for someone who doesn't have an existing denture, who's got atrophy, and they've got like movement, especially movement. When you've got like mobile, you can't scan that. Can you imagine? It's stitching it in different positions, like.
When you said that you like to watch these, because I like to watch them as well, the making of the movies and things. And you see on there, don't you, that they've got all these plans drawn out and, scenes. Do you have that with the types of prosthetics that you need to make? Do they have like an idea of what it needs to look like, or do you get free reign on what
Really
you make it
depends.
look like?
Yeah, it's a really good question. So, it kind of takes two avenues. So, if you're working on a really big production, so let's say I'm working on a Marvel production, they'll have a whole team of concept designers who created that design, and they say, "We want you to copy this." Okay, and then you got to try and make it work, and then you also have to be the person who says, "Look, if I designed those teeth the way you want them, number one, they're not going to be able to talk, and number two, they're going to cut their mouth to pieces if you want the teeth that sharp." Yeah, so quite often, sometimes you have to bring the director or the production down, but again, that's where
Is that easy to do, or do you find you've got a battle sometimes?
Well, you have to be matter of fact, and at the moment you bring safety in it, uh, uh, then they will listen. I mean,
Again,
I've
this is where your
listened to.
expertise come in, isn't it? Of, your knowledge and, your qualification in
That's
this.
very nice, but this is what's actually practical that's as close to that as we can get.
Exactly, and then let's say it's an appliance, something where that you can see if they were to do that, the mouth would be jacked open, and then start talking about TMJ issues and the fact that if their mouth is open that amount of time, are not able to stabilize it, all the implications that's going to cause your actor, right? They'll have a whole concept team dedicated to producing what I need to do, and then there's other productions, which still could be the high end ones. Um, Tend to be more mid-level ones where they go, right, this is what we want to achieve. How are we going to do it, Dom? And I love that. That for me is
Yeah,
perfect because
that's
they
the
go,
fun stuff, isn't it? Yeah.
yeah, how could we do it? And then I can tell them how I can do it, and then together we come up with an idea of how it's going to look. So, for instance, um, I've used the mummy as an example. So Lee Cronin's Mummy. That's just been, I think it's might not be in the cinemas now. But it's kind of like a remake of the Mummy franchise. And the first original contact I had with the makeup artist and the director was, right, Dom. So there's a little girl, she gets possessed. She's going to take the dentures out of our mum's mouth. The mum doesn't wear dentures. She's got all her teeth. So, got to recreate that. She pulls her dentures, the dentures out of her nan's mouth, who's laid in a coffin. She then needs to stick those dentures in her own mouth and then bite the nose off of a vicar. And they're like, can you make that happen? I'm like, oh yeah. I love it. And I'd never have that level of that type of conversation in dentistry, right? So I love it. I completely geek out on
Yeah.
it.
I think I would. I think I do find it really fascinating, and it's like a new challenge every day as well, isn't it? There's always something. It's not the same things. It's not, can we have this 6 and that 7 and just A2, A3, or you've got something challenging you every day, something quite
Completely
complex too.
unique.
Yeah, very
Yeah.
unique,
Yeah, so
definitely.
therefore, what I had to do was I had to then create a piece that for the nan so I had to create some gummy arches for her, so very, very thin. Then I needed to create 2 sets of dentures. Again, my dental technology experience, I'm like, I can do this. So effectively like an overdenture, right? So 2 overdentures that fit perfectly over the top of this that she could still remove without removing the kind of the flabby, the kind of the dentures arches I've created. Um, and then there's one scene where, sometimes when people got dentures will flip the denture out and their mouth, flip it and then stick it out and then pop it back in again. She had to recreate that effect. So I had to then create another denture where it was really quite easily to remove, where she could flick it out of her tongue and then pop it back in again. So all these little nuances, all these little things that no one would really notice because no one would question that. They think this woman has a denture, right? No one would ever question that. But you only know that she has a full set of teeth behind that all. And then I had to then create a set of dentures which would not only fit her mouth, but fits another girl's mouth. So I had to then overcome how you get a set of dentures they're going to retain and sit in this little girl's mouth as well.
Do you find it really hard to figure these things out? How long does it take you to kind of work around these things? And
No, that's fine. This is where again, I find my experience as a dental technician really just comes into play because we are problem solvers at the end of the day. That's what we do, okay? And I think that uh, experience really puts me in a good position because I just use all of my dental technology experience and skills and my imagination, take some imagination as well. And then I'm lucky I come up with quite good solutions. And even if I don't know what it is, when I accept a job, I know I can get a solution, even if I don't know an end. So it's kind of like blind confidence. It's taken time, it's taken years to get there, right? But I know that quite often I'll take a job on, not often always knowing how I'm going to do it, but I know I can do it because, there's nothing I can't not do in the mouth, really. There's not much. There are some limitations, but generally there's not much that you can't do. There's things that are harder than others, but yeah.
speaking of turnaround times, do you have what's your time limits for these things to get done? Do as compared to a normal dental lab work turnaround?
Similar to a dental lab, 2-week turnaround tends to be.
Even for all these really, complex things.
2 week
That's-
turnaround generally. But what tends to happen though, 2 weeks is a luxury. Okay. What tends to happen is that and I learned this again very quickly, is that quite often what will happen is that there's pre-production. Pre-production will start to plan what they're going to do. They'll reach out to the makeup artists who've won the bid to do that film, and then they'll start designing, they'll start building makeup and prosthetics. And then they get to the point where they go, yeah, we need teeth. And then I get that call and I go, yeah, Dom, so listen, this is the makeup. We realize we need teeth. And okay, the first question I ask is, when do you need it? And they say, yeah, we need it in 2 or 3 days. And that's what happens quite often.
It's almost like
And
having a
so
dentist.
isn't it just right? You know? So that's
Can
challenging,
you
right?
work your magic?
Yeah.
Do your best.
Do your best.
And that's really and actually tends to be the nature of the business as well. It happens quite a lot. So then I realized very quickly, my job is not making FX teeth. My job is to, well, it is, of course, but it's to make the best FX teeth I can in the shortest amount of time.
Yeah.
That would have been my
And
next question about the makeup artists and this, the other people that work on the special effects around the face and think, how closely do you work with them?
yeah, so I mean, I work really closely with them, and I love that. It's a relationship that I really enjoy. Getting to work with the makeup artist and the designers and then working with them on the ideas. I absolutely love that. So you do work really closely. Even work on my own, and quite a lot of time I'll have that interaction, meetings, etc. Quite often, I'm sending work out, and with the digital workflow, things are going in and fitting, hardly any changes or adjustments need to be made. But it's a relationship that I really enjoy. And I certainly don't want to stereotype, but I know I'm in good company here. But the makeup artists who tend to be the most organized and the ones who give me the most amount of time and think about this are the female makeup artists. And they basically generally the ones who have planned ahead of time. When they reach out to me and say, Dom, we require teeth. I've already gone through my planning, and I'm like, okay, how long have I got? And they're like, you got a month, maybe 2 months to kind of back this out. And I love that. It's so nice. It's a real luxury. That hardly ever happens, but the really organized makeup artists out there, they're very good at getting me in sooner rather than later. But sometimes the nature of the business, maybe it's a last minute decision. Done. Director changes his mind. They need teeth. Want to do a tooth pull gag or whatever. Can you do it? Or young child, they've lost their tooth. What can we do? For continuity, they need to have their tooth, so they'll pull you in last minute.
Yeah, because kids do have a tendency to fall over and land on their face, don't they? Mhm.
Yeah,
Or
absolutely.
just a deciduous tooth just popped out at the wrong time. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't especially think of that, do you? When you've got children actors that are at that age where they're losing the deciduous teeth. And then all of a sudden, oh, look, I'll put this under my pillow tonight. Yeah, but you need something
Yeah.
here now.
Well, they're coming into the film set and the actors having the directors having babies because it's like, oh my gosh, like for continuity, if it wasn't written in the script, it shouldn't have happened.
What do you do? Do you copy the tooth that came out? Because, what if they've got teeth all over the place? And, 'cause some kids can't they? And do you have to copy or do they take pictures of the teeth before?
They're going to have some film footage at the very least that can get some stills off, aren't they?
I mean, ideally, what we'll do is, if you haven't got a pre-op scan, it's a case of really doing what you can to copy it, because the teeth. The good thing about them is that they're quite, not amorphous, but there's not, we're not worrying about line angles or anything on them. So as such, it's just something that from camera.
Members of the public's not going to notice if it's not 100% identical, are they?
Exactly. So it's the shade match, really. That's the most important thing, as long as it blends in. But, however, I'm working on a big production right now. Can't say what it is, but the makeup artists are super organised, child actors as well. We basically got them scanned in to preempt them losing their teeth because they're at that age. So it was
that's a makeup artist with experience of working with children, isn't it?
100%. And you know what, then, from a digital perspective, it's a dream, right? Because it's going to be the exact copy of that tooth.
Yeah. That's forward planning.
It's
That
almost
is,
like it happened too many times before, definitely.
Yeah.
How important to do what you do is networking compared to having a portfolio?
Oh, that's such a good question, Jenna. I think they're both equally important. I think a good portfolio speaks for itself,
But you've got to get it
but
in
if
the
you
door.
don't, yeah, but if you don't have those people skills to be able to work with people, now I know some really, and this is in the film industry and this is in the dental world. So, I'll use dental technology. We use the dental world, the dental technicians as an example. We know that quite often there's a lot of technicians who work on their own. It can be quite monastic work, and the nature of the business, if the ones who've been in it a long time, they haven't necessarily developed those interpersonal skills of dealing with people. And if you want to, let's say they wanted to leave and then start up and create business themselves, they don't have the interpersonal skills to be able to do that and be able to build those relationships. And this is something I learned in retail is that, and it is so true, whatever business you're working in, people buy people first. It doesn't, if you've got an amazing product as well, that's also great, right? But actually, you may have the best product in the world. I may be the best FX teeth technician there is, but if I don't have those skills to allow people to work with me and be open to working with other teams and generally know how to conduct yourself on a film set, how to approach actors in a professional way, they don't want people taking selfies and wanting to take the signature, etc. Then we're going to want to work with you again. So those skills, I think both of them, are portfolio and those people interpersonal skills, I think are really massive important. And that's really in line with networking, right? So if you can network, you can really drive your business. And networking as what has really driven my business, because you've got some amazing social media platforms that you can show your portfolio about, to the world to, which is amazing. But actually, this industry is very small, the film industry, and it's really word of mouth. That's really what really holds the power. You may have great work, people may like it, they may be liking it on an Instagram, but does that mean that they're going to use you? No, it's all around meeting, and I know that hopefully, that if they meet me, they like me, and they know that, because I always try to. So, for instance, a job I'm working on at the moment, I was lucky enough to go to Tenerife for a couple of days on the shoot, which is lovely. And this is a new team I've worked with, and straight away the person who's heading out, I said to them, "Look," who was also really lovely, by the way, said, "Look, think of me as one of your team. Even though coming as a subcontractor, there's no ego. I'm not like coming, I want to fit in. You tell me what you need from me and I can make sure I can deliver it." And straight away it diffused any qualms or worries that he had with me. And it allowed us all to work really well. And then for him to be confident to, in his eyes, order me around and tell me what to do. Because I'm like, just tell me what you need me to do and when, because my job is to fit around you and your team. And that's something that I've developed and learned over time. But also, I'm quite lucky. I'm pulling on my social skills from working in retail all those years ago. Where you can talk
Customer
to a
service
stranger.
coming into play.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's being confident to be able to talk to anyone, and just be clear and concise, but also being aware of your body language, how you come across, all these things come into play. And also when you're dealing with, with actors, I tend to get down on my knees and lower myself, um, and I tend to get their attention more. I'm not someone who likes to loom over people, it's not helpful. It's also can be quite condescending. So yeah, to
That's a
building
communication
relationship.
skill as well, isn't it? That, bringing
Understanding
yourself
other
down to their
people's body
level.
language
Yeah.
and things like that,
Yeah.
understanding when it's appropriate to approach someone and talk to someone, when it's really not a good time, how informed those conversations can be and need to be with any given person as well. Some people might not need or want all the detail, whereas someone else actually wants every little bit of detail we can give them. So it's just knowing what's appropriate for who and when, isn't it?
Yeah.
Exactly. And it's interesting because quite a lot of time I'll get pulled onto a set if maybe there's quite a challenging actor or actress. And when I mean challenging, maybe a little bit nervous about anything going in the mouth, which is completely normal. And it's really having a specialist there who can hold their hand and go, look, it's fine, you know, and if I need to make any adjustments, I'm here. Someone to reaffirm, because when they stick them in, it's like someone wearing a retainer and a liner. You know, they're like, oh,
Is it
that's
supposed
quite
to feel
tight, you
like
know.
this? What? Yeah. What am I supposed to do about that bit? Am I going to be able to get them out? Oh my God,
Exactly.
I'm panicking. I can't get them
Yes.
out. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Hit on
Do
the
you
head.
find, are you usually on set then when they're doing the filming?
Sometimes it can be. The problem is, right, digital works so good that quite often I'm just sending it out and then they're sticking them in and
We
everything's
don't
fine. And
need
it's
him
like,
to come over. He can
yeah,
stay in his little room at home. It's fine.
It's saying something for digital work, isn't it? Because there's a lot of misconceptions around digital. I mean, we're a fully digital lab, but you see on social media, a lot of people are still scared of going digital. I think it's going to push humans out of a job and push technicians out of a job. But I think there's always going to be a need for human interaction with making dental appliances. You still need, AI is not fully there yet, and I don't think they're going to push it firstly into dental to start with. um, I mean, like you said, with your photogrammetry, and when you did the guy in, is it LA, where he was? 'Cause you didn't get to see him at all, and all that helped with the digital side, but you needed to know how to use all of that and put that together to
yeah,
make the
yeah.
prosthetics that he needed. And I think it just goes to show that digital is useful if people get on the right side of it.
It's an appropriate tool, isn't it, that you just need to learn how to utilize effectively.
Exactly. Yeah, and I think, digital, well, my attitude is it's very much digital has its place. It does a lot of what I do. But is everything I do digital? No, because I think digital should be used when digital is best. And there's sometimes, let's say if I'm doing a character piece, and this is just really restraints from the kind of the printing residence perspective is I need really beautiful aesthetics. Maybe it's going to be a close up, and I want to create some translucency and vitality to the teeth. I probably tend to go for a hand waxed, be always on a digital model, but I opt in for like a hand waxed up piece that I'm casting in dental acrylic because I know when I polish it up, it's going to look beautiful. And if I need to, I can then use my dental stains just to add the slight kind of like nuances of the
Characterize it.
translucency, the mamelons, a little bit of staining.
That's it. These older materials are tried and tested, aren't they? And they've done the hard work of the years, and now
Exactly.
the digital side of that's coming into it, and I think they've still got quite a long way to go with that. I mean, they're good for some things, maybe some try-ins and things.
Exactly.
Yeah, not for everything. We don't do digital dentures. We used to, but
I want to think, where did you start? If you don't mind me asking.
just didn't really feel like the material's quite there yet for the longevity of things and for permanent dentures. Nice materials, but it's just not. And we don't have a denture technician anymore either, so we're all crown and bridge technicians. We don't really want to dabble in stuff that we're not used to doing every day.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. And I think that the only materials I've seen and promising, but they can only really be printed on very expensive printers, is the dense supply high impact materials. They tend to be, but they're very particular. They're printed best on the carbon printers and the carbon 3D printers. It's not a cheap bit of kit. And some of them, like me, is that when I want to invest it, and actually you can't own them anyway, you're leasing them out as well. I wouldn't be doing enough work to justify using on a carbon printer. So
They are good machines, but they are very, very expensive. There's a big hype when they first came out. It was like, what? And then saw the price. Like, no, wait.
yeah, exactly.
Give it a few years, it'll be fine.
Yeah, and I still will subcontract. If I ever need something like that, I will subcontract out to someone who's got a carbon printer, or wants to 3D printer than me if I need to.
What is the biggest misconception that you find working in TV and film that people have?
I get paid probably a lot more than what I do. Because whenever I talk to anyone and I talk about the big productions that I work on, they're like, I was at a wedding on the weekend and lucrative for you, and I'm like, well, it's probably not as lucrative as what you think it is. It is more of a calling now, of course. I do well. Don't get me wrong. It's. But am I getting more than what a lab owner would be getting? Probably not. No, no. And so it's not like it's big, big dollars, big bucks. I
I
think a lot of
suppose
people
because you
think
say
because you work.
TV and film, people think, oh, he's making millions. Well,
Yeah,
that's going to make
exactly.
that much. So that means he's made just as much.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
actually, I'm sure there are people in the industry who make a lot of money, but it's certainly not the people who are working in the makeup and the prosthetic side of things. If you're very good at what you do, you can, I don't know, I think I've built up a really good reputation myself, but I think that's where I'm rich, is in my reputation and what I do. I know that I'm secure and I
No,
can,
it's
support my
worth it,
family,
isn't it?
which is what I want,
Yeah.
and to do what I love. But that's the biggest misconception. And even for me going into it, I kind of went in a bit star-eyed from the financial perspective, and slowly realized that actually, no, it's not as financially,
As glamorous as people make out, think it
yeah,
is. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. And that's just being completely honest. Everything else
No, that's
is
exactly
met.
what we want. Just completely honest and,
Yeah, and
real.
everything else I do is met and exceeded my expectations. I love what I do. I love who I deal with. I love the productions, and I'm a big kid. Big for me is going on set when they go, "Do you want to come on set?" And I'm like, "Uh,
Did you have to ask?
"Yeah,
I'm already there. Where are
yeah."
you?
And I've
I,
been
I
really
can relate.
lucky as well, because I've
Yeah.
met so many famous people and they've all been really lovely. I've only had a few people who were just complete divas and really not very nice. And also, it's quite lovely if you get to go. Sometimes you get to go to their houses to meet them, and for fun to see how the other people, the other half live.
On the other side live.
The other side of
Yeah. Oh, look
the
at that.
paycheck.
Oh,
Yeah.
look. Took me 3 miles to get up the driveway.
Exactly, right. But I love that. I'm quite
Good
a nosy
security
person.
checks.
I mean, just having our conversation, because I have listened to several podcasts that you've done with several different people over, the last year or so. But just from our conversation today, what I've learned more about you is that how hard you've actually worked to get yourself to this place. And like I say, it's not as glamorous as people might think it is. You don't just walk into these things. You've had to work hard. It nearly could have jeopardized your family because of that time that was taken away from them. Um, especially when you've got young children, which like we say, we've all been there, and working two jobs at one point. You think coming out of one job working to another, and then you come into this one, and you could work one job, but then working into the evening and weekends, and it's still taking that time away. And obviously, working free for 3 years. I think
Yeah.
these are the realities that people need to kind of
But if you've got a passion
have.
for something, you've got to make the
Yeah.
sacrifices, haven't you?
Well,
You
this is it.
you
That's
Is
the
do.
they
thing.
say nothing comes easy without a good hard work.
Yeah,
You know,
exactly. And we know that in terms of technicians, right? It's not an easy job, right? But I'm very much a believer that, and this has always been my policy in life. If if you know what you want to do, go do it. You live once. I've been surrounded by tragic circumstances of losing both my parents. Not and other people that I know, and I grew up, from poverty, but we grew up quite poor. Couldn't leave my bike or anything at the front of the house because the bailiffs would pick it up. So I come from a background where we didn't have very much, and I could see the struggles that had on my family, my mum and dad's marriage, and how that resulted in bad health. I look at that and I turn it into a positive, and I think, how can I prevent that from happening? And I think a lot of it is being happy, but being driven and motivated, and making sure that you're establishing yourself in a career you want to do. Because that's longevity, that right there is longevity and happiness, and everything should roll off, because then you're financially secure, you're happy. And now I'm lucky, I'm at the point now where I've got my work-life balance back as well. So all that hard work, all of those sacrifices have paid off. But it's not been luck. It's been just pure
Right.
hard work. I've been driven enough to know what I want, and that's me in life. And even now, right, even though I'm I'm where I wanted to be in 2017. I'm now looking, where do I want to be next in the next 10 years? Because I've still got that fire in my stomach. What do I want to do? Where do I want to be? And yeah, I think that's just my makeup genetically from my upbringing. I have four brothers. No, sorry, three brothers. I'm one of four. And they take a slight different angle. Perhaps not as positive from our childhood. We maybe go in a slight different direction to what I have. But I always like to see the positive in everything and then really use that as motivation. And like I said, I was so lucky that I got a wife who fully supported me on this journey. And it's tough, right? Because she had to take second place, and make sure she prioritizing the kids and me when I needed. But the good thing is now come full circle. So now I'm doing this. She's now going back to university. She's now she was the trained dietitian. So we're now really doing my best to help support her on her journey, which I think is amazing and really important because she was there for me.
That's great. It's lovely to hear, and I couldn't have said anything better myself with that. It's nice to see that you're just a real down to earth, hard worker, and you sound like you've got an amazing wife as well. And
Yes,
yeah,
very lucky.
and she's stuck with you for a reason.
Yes,
So,
I know, right?
Yeah, like I say, it's a great partnership to have that. It definitely is, and it's nice that you've got that work-life balance back. So, before we go, can you share any behind-the-scenes stories or anything else at all before we sneak off?
Stories, I think. Well, it's quite funny because it's actually cropped up a few times. So, as you know, I work from home. I also have a mobile lab, as in like my suitcase, and I'll travel around. Quite often actors will come to me, and now in my front of my lab, it is Bitemakers SFX teeth. And so anyway, this actress came in to see me. She was with her husband, who was a theatre director. He kind of like a naughty kid coming, like holding his mouth, like laughing. And he kind of sat down and it's like, you mate. I was like, yeah. I was looking at my units because I've got all my certain sets of teeth on display. I was like, I just need to ask you something. So what do you mean? He goes, what are sex teeth? I was like, sex teeth? What do you mean? He goes, well, do you specialise in sex teeth? And I'm like, what makes you think that? And he's like, well, it says on your side that you're a sex teeth maker. I was like, no, that's SFX. And what's weird thing is it's happened twice now. It's really odd. And then you start
Maybe you
thinking,
need to look at your font.
yeah, I think I do, right?
I need to ask another question though. Was it no disrespect? Was it both men that thought that?
Yeah, of course, typically. Yeah, of course
we
it is,
know where the mind goes, don't we?
And yeah, exactly. We've got potty mouths and potty bonds, and then of course me being a guy, I'm like, well, what even would be a set of sex teeth? What would that be?
Yeah, actually makes you think about that. What would that be?
But
I mean, I have heard of some before.
Few.
Yes, they usually got the anteriors missing.
Oh, that's so good.
Brilliant.
Oh,
I'll tell you something.
I
Don't say that you've never made them.
to make them.
You never know. You might have to make them at some point.
I could easily be a sex tooth specialist then, clearly.
just veer off from horror into a whole different genre. There you go.
What though, whilst on that same note, I know a technician who then became a Max Fax, then moved into making dildos because of a medical grade, and I think he probably makes more money than he ever has doing it as well. It's quite funny.
So where is that?
I can't say.
It's amazing what we can do with our material knowledge. It's biocompatible.
Yeah, it'd be great to get on the podcast.
Quite versatile people, aren't we, really?
Some go jewellery, others go sex toys.
Oh, God, it's tickled me.
I've been very, very lucky. I've had a few moments where I've met famous people, and they've kind of you get over it eventually. I mean, like meeting Jude Law is opening the door, and it's like, Dom, know his name. You can sit down and you think maybe he's going to be an arsehole, and he smells really great, looks good, and like, super nice. So I'd be very lucky who I'd meet, but no, I'd love to tell you about the nasty stories, but I can't. I'd be professional and I won't say. But I thought I'd been very, very lucky. But not everyone is nice. Not every A-lister is nice. They can be a little bit nasty.
Can
I mean, that's
imagine.
just life, isn't it? You get nice people, you get not so nice people. We
Yeah.
still have to
Yeah,
be
and it's
professionals
the
and
usual
get the job
suspects
done,
as
don't
well.
we?
Yeah. And unfortunately, they're in all walks of life and jobs, aren't they? So
Exactly.
yeah. Well, it's been lovely having you on and really insightful. I've really enjoyed listening to your story. It's been great. Is there anything
Yeah.
that you'd like
Likewise.
to finish on, Andrea?
No, just to say, thank you very much. It's been really fun, really
Yeah.
fun. It's
Actually
lovely
made
to
me
hear.
cry.
Well, I don't get. No one's ever really asked me about my journey, really. And be able to kind of show really the realities of this, but also I do miss talking dental generally as well. I like, because I like the dental industry. I go to the DTS whenever I can. I mean, actually, I couldn't go last. I couldn't go Friday to the dental show. I try to go whenever I can, but I very much, love talking with you both, and
It's
yeah,
been really
thank you for your
enjoyable.
time.
Thank you for
Yeah.
coming on. And whatever shows these are, if we're allowed to go to them, let us know when they are, and definitely come and join
Yes.
these shows. These are the ones that you go to.
Absolutely, yeah,
Very
definitely.
interesting.
Well, you've got the prosthetics event, which is one that's in. It's now moved from Birmingham to London, and that tends to be most Novembers. So you just need to look for the prosthetic event. There was another one called IMATS, but that's now just stopped. So really, that's the biggest one in the UK at the moment. But it was interesting in film and networking, great places, and I will always be there as well at these events.
Yeah, come see
We'll
some
always know at
unique
least
stuff
one
as well.
person there.
Yeah, I'm like, where's
Dominic.
Dominic?
Exactly.
Thank you for coming on. It's been a real pleasure. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Take care.
Bye.